Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope to see those essays submitted by tomorrow, because remember, they are due by Friday. So please get them in as soon as possible. Now, just for our chapters this week, I just wanted to go over some things, because I know that how new words are born was kind of it wasn't a very long article, but it had a lot of information because everything was numbered. So you might call it like methodical. It was kind of like a classification essay where he classified all these different ways that we form new words, right? So I just wanted to go over them briefly so we all understand what they are, and that you can complete the exercise where it asks what that word is from, right? So derivation is actually the most popular and common way that new words are born, and it simply means what it says. Derivation, right? How a word derives from something else. A lot of times words derive from a Latin origin. We see this very, very often with words. So the derivation of a word. And I actually had an example that I was going to highlight. Let's see. From the book, the most common one was adding the prefix or suffix. So they talk about realization, preteen, monogamish, all these different things. So you can see there how a prefix or a suffix, very simply, can add and change the meaning of a word. Then we have the back formations, right? So what is a back formation? It's actually the reversal of the derivation, right? So it's removing the affix from the word. And I think the example I was looking at here was sleazy, right? So the noun sleaze was back formed from sleazy in about 1967. So if we remove the Y at the end, right, and we change it to the E for the sleaze, then we get the word sleaze, which didn't exist before. So in this case, sleazy came before sleaze. Then we have compounding. Do we know what a compound is? It's bringing something together, right? So here it's the juxtaposition of two existing words, and juxtaposition just means the joining together of two words that already existed. Some of the examples in the book were like bailout, carbon dating, but there's even others like into, nobody, awe-inspiring, environmentally friendly. We could probably think of so many, right? Now, what about repurposing? Do we know what repurposing is? Well, what does it mean to repurpose something? It doesn't have to be a word right now. Just think about how you would repurpose something. For me, maybe I like to do some crafts and arts and crafts projects. So maybe I would take, a mason jar that was used originally to store food, and I would clean it out and I would use it to make a Christmas decoration or something for my house, right? So that's repurposing. So it's taking something that was meant for one thing, changing its purpose for something else. So basically, some of the examples here are crane, which is interesting because initially it meant just a long-necked bird, but now we actually know that it could be a lifting machine as well, right? So that's just one example. Then we have eponyms, right? Number 6, eponyms. So, wait, did I skip one? I'm sorry. Yes, I skipped conversion. I apologize for that. So conversion. So basically taking a word from one word class and transplanting it into another. So for example, the word giant was a noun, right? But now it's not just a giant like a huge person, right? Now it actually could be, I saw a giant raccoon outside my window, right? And we're using it as an adjective to describe something else, not as a noun. So that's what that means. Now back to the eponyms that I was doing before. Words named after a person or place. This one I didn't actually know existed, so this was interesting to me too. It said that there are certain words like gun or dunce or current, marmalade, maverick, panic, silhouette, etc. that were actually named after people and places. So it's just a matter of taking off that capital letter and using it for a new purpose. Number 7, abbreviations. I think texting nowadays, we all know what abbreviations are and why we use them, right? To shorten language, to make things faster, to communicate quicker. But an increasingly popular method of doing that is to kind of clip things, make them shorter. So instead of saying like mobile vulgus, it's mob. Okay, goodbye used to be God be with you. Taxi, cab were both from taximeter, cabriolet. So you could see how these long words were shortened over time, right? Then we have loan words. Now, what does it mean to loan something? Loan something is to borrow, right? So these are borrowed words from other cultures, from other countries. So foreign speakers often complain their language is being overrun with borrowings from English, but English is actually a word thief in and of itself that has taken a lot of words from other cultures. So some of the words that I wanted to talk about, which I just thought was interesting, was Mayan was shark, Nahuatl was tomato, Tahitian, tattoo. There are all these different words that were borrowed from all these other places. And you can keep researching that if it interests you, because I thought it was pretty interesting. Then we have onomatopoeia, right? We all know, I'm sure we've heard of this probably before when we were younger. This is popular with children because it's when the word mimics the sound that it makes, right? So it would be like boom, right? Crash, bang, or crackle, or hiss. All those words that literally just mean the way they sound. They're just sounds. Then we have reduplication. And what does it mean to duplicate something? To make a copy, right? To do it again. So reduplication is the repetition or near repetition of a word or sound. This could be something like boo-boo, right? You have a boo-boo if you're talking to a child. It could be even things like hip-hop, clip-clap, things like that. Words that kind of repeat themselves together to kind of form more of a rhyme and a rhythmic sound going on, which is more memorable, I think. Then we have nonce words. And what do these words mean? They're actually pulled out of thin air. These are words that we don't quite know where they came from. That's why they're pulled out of thin air. The book says bling, fleek, and quark were some examples. So I'm just curious if we could think of more and post them online, because I thought that would be kind of interesting too. Then we have error words. That sounds like something's wrong, right? Well, it actually is. It means a misspelling, mishearing, or a mispronunciation of a word over time actually became a word in of itself. So people turned the error into a new word. Some of the examples in the book were, let's see. It says scramble, for example, seems to have originated from Scrabble. But now, over time, people kind of differentiate between them. So what would you say scramble means? I would say scramble is, when you know you're late for something and you're scrambling around your house looking for your keys, right? That would be scramble. It's kind of like a frantic looking for something. Scrabble, on the other hand, for me is a game, right? As I'm sure it is for many of you. So there's a very distinct difference between those two. And now we're up to the last one, which is portmanteaus, right? Now, portmanteaus is compounding with a twist. So it's really interesting because it's very similar to number 3 of compounding, but the twist on it, as the book talks about, is that we're taking a word, we're removing an arbitrary portion of it, and putting in its place a whole word or a similarly clipped one. So some words were sitcom, paratroops, internet, gazunder, and sexting. Okay, so as we could see, these words came about with a lot of different combinations of methods. So you could add an ing, a y, there could be a prefix added, a suffix added, so many different things, but that's basically what they are. So what do we take from all this? What is the takeaway? Because it's interesting, it's kind of fun to learn all this, but what do you think his point is in writing? Some of you touched on this in our discussions, right? And I think even the title, as it suggests, how new words are born, right? By saying words are born, what kind of figurative language is that? Think about it. You have it in your head. What it is a metaphor, right? And it's also personification, right? So how new words are born. How could a word be born? It's not human, right? But by doing that, it's giving it human-like qualities. And what that means is that words, like us humans, right, are born, changed, shifted, they grow, right? They get larger, they get smaller. In our case, we usually get larger, of course, but words can become smaller, as we saw in some of these examples. But that's basically what this is about, right? And I think at the very beginning of the article, if I remember correctly, he actually says that English speakers are adding new words at the rate of around 1,000 per year. Okay, so you can just imagine how many new words there are. Every single year, 1,000 more words. So by the end of this year, another 1,000 more words. The end of next year, another 1,000 more words. What does that mean for us? I think it's a good thing. I think it means that our culture and our language and our ability to communicate is increasing and improving. I think it means cultures are blending more and words are being borrowed more from other languages. I think it means that younger people are looking for new and creative ways to express themselves and kind of stand out and change things up. So I think it's a good thing for sure. So think about all this, okay? Think about as you go about your day even or your week. When you hear a word now, what category would it fall in for you? And where do you think that word came from? Maybe study a little bit. You'll be really interested, I think, and impressed by the results. So that's all for now. And I will be back in a few moments to go over the rest of them.